Hi.
Like
Hi, everyone.
we're gonna talk about strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
Yeah, managing oneself. Peter
Okay.
Drucker.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that author before.
Can you share that?
Yeah, so we are going to be talking about strengths and weaknesses today and managing oneself. There is a book by Peter Drucker called Managing Oneself. I ate a lot of garlic last night, so I'm having a hard time tolerating my own self right now, like my breath. I love garlic, but man, the next day it's intense. So if you wanted to know if I was okay, I'm okay, but
Oh, but I need your help
what?
with something. Can you
What?
give me can you look up Peter Drucker's managing oneself? Like just put summary
Yeah,
because that way I can read it first for everyone.
I was actually gonna do that.
Yeah, that's good. Use
Let you know.
because it's about working smarter, not harder. All right, Grand Rising, everyone. So like Crystal said, we're gonna be on today's episode, we're gonna be talking about Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And so for those of you who don't know who Peter Drucker is, Peter Drucker is a management consultant, but not just a general management consultant. He's like the guy that you learn from, basically. Okay. So he has several books and there's just so much knowledge and wisdom from his philosophies and teachings that we can all draw from. So, oh, this is interesting. So Crystal's using Bing,
Co-pilot.
yeah, Copilot.
So I was introduced to, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time. I mentioned it to other people, I know, but so there's Chat GPT, right? And a friend, one of our friends, they're like software developers. They create apps, right? And so they liked Bing's Copilot better because it actually researches in real time, whereas ChatGPT, I think it's about a few years delayed, so you're not going to get the real-time research when you're like typing things in or asking things. So yeah.
Yeah, but if you pay for the subscriptions for ChatGPT, then it's basically the same thing. But there's many different layers to that too. Rise and thrive. Grand Rising. So yeah, let me
Here, see if you like it. If you don't, I usually will like kind
yeah.
of set it again.
So basically like what Crystal put in here. The reason why we're doing this too is just to, if you haven't been using AI just yet, like hopefully this encourages you to start to adapt and to use it, right? Because it's so helpful. Instead of having to recall your memory, like for me, I can recall like the memory of Peter Drucker and what I learned from the Managing Oneself book. I've been reading it since 2015. But when it comes to me thinking about everything else I do, like why would I want to use my brain
Brain.
power? Why would I want to use my energy to do that when I can just actually use AI and it'll actually give all of you, including myself, a better summary, right? So let's use the tools that we have in our hands, especially if they're free, right? So Crystal put inside here, literally. Can you give me a summary of Peter Drucker's Managing Oneself? Now, obviously, when it comes to AI, can you please do that?
Sorry, so fast.
I know. When when it comes to using AI, specifically like these types of, you know, channels, I guess, yeah, apps, it's all about like the input that you give it. It's the input that you give it, right? So the better the input you put in, the better the data is going to be put out, basically. Right? It's just the same thing like if you're asking questions to, a mentor or a coach or a guide or, just the audience, right? If you're asking better questions, sometimes better answers will come out, right? And it's the same thing because it also depends on who you're asking the question to, right? If I'm asking her about real estate or about personal finance or about Thrive or about whatever, right, that she knows about, she's lived it, she has the experience, then chances are I'm gonna get a better answer, right? But if I ask like some random, like let's say I'm asking a student who's just learning about like real estate or who's just learning about Or if I'm asking like a personal finance, like a person who's studying personal finance, but they don't have their personal finances in check, then what answers am I going to get? Okay. And this is just a framework because it's about who you're getting the information from, not like, not anything else. It's really important that you understand who you're getting information from first, and then that way you can really filter and have a clearer lens of the information coming in. So that way, you just you cut your learning curve faster. You actually cut the learning curve, not get the wrong information. And so when it comes to using AI, like ChatGPT or Copilot, for example, or whatever you want to use, uh, there is going to be some errors because
Hmm.
it's still learning, it's still processing the right data.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you can always summarize and like continue to learn as you're going, right? And so for here, yeah, she just put one simple sentence, and it just here, can you just read it
It
actually?
gives you a summary. So, but to add on to what you're saying is I've listened to an audio before, and then I did the summary from ChatGPT just to see like what summary or what it said about the audio, about the book. And I felt like there was details that it didn't include that I knew about because I had listened to the book. And so I had to re-input my question, right? So it still is good to be able to like read the book or listen to the audio and then get a summary. And then I get a summary after an AI just so I can remember and reiterate things because sometimes we forget things. We read it, we listen to it, and then we forget it, right? So it never hurts to like take down notes that you feel are like one percenters from what you're reading or listening to,
Mhm.
or also going into AI after to summarize what you just read or what you just listened to remember some of the important key points of it. But yeah, like it's still, it's still a work in progress. It's still learning. And yeah, so Peter Drucker's managing oneself, right? So identify your strengths. So in the book, he talks about the importance of knowing your strengths and suggesting using feedback analysis to discover them. When you make decisions or you take actions, write down what you expect will happen. And after about 9 to 12 months, compare the actual results with your expectations to identify your strengths. So
Mhm.
I think that is a good I feel like 9 to 12 months, it's short term, but it's also long term, right? Like if you want to be able to get feedback right away, I would probably get feedback after like a day, right? Like if you put this post out, what's going to happen? If you say this to this person, what action are they going to take? So, I would want to get feedback sooner than 9 to 12 months, but I
Mhm.
think that that's a good time frame as well. But I think there's different time frames that I would use. What do you think?
Okay, I'll give you like this. Like if you can download all of the information that you needed in today, but it would typically take 20 years to download, you know, but you can do it literally in one day.
Hmm.
Like, would that be helpful?
Yes.
Yeah. So like that's the power of knowledge transferring. It's like, yeah, back, when this book was written, like back then, like they didn't have like access to these tools that we have, right?
Yeah.
Um, Social media even was not like a thing, basically. So when it comes to like this, like your question, like if you have access to the information faster, then you can move mountains, literally.
Got it. So what you're more so saying is like actually get the strategy, like actually get the know-how. So when you implement,
Mhm.
duh. So when you implement it, you already know because there's been so much, research and you're learning from the person that does the best of it, right?
There's a framework from that my mentor taught me. He says to shoot to the top, shoot to the top. So yeah, it goes back to literally what I said earlier, right?
Yeah.
If you're learning something, like anything, right? Like shoot to the top, right? The framework is shoot to the top. That means that who is the best in the entire world, or who is a group of people who are the best in the entire world that you can learn from,
Yeah.
right? So for me, like when it comes to like management consultant or consulting, for example, executive like consulting, whatever it may be, right? I'm looking at the top people who's doing it. And it might not just be one person. It might be a company, right? It might be $1 billion company. Like why wouldn't I learn from them? It might be like someone who is the forefront of it. So always, no matter what you're doing, like this applies to every aspect of your life. If you are studying, whatever it is, like
Yeah.
who's the top of the top that you can learn from? One, right? Second, this is even more important, right?
Hmm.
So learn from is one, identify as one, the right person. Second thing is learn from. Can you learn from them? Is it like through an audiobook? Is it through like in-person connecting? Like, is it coaching? What is it, right? The third thing, which in my opinion is even more important, which you'll actually get like so much more data and more knowledge, is by actually working with them. Like imagine being able to rub shoulders every single day with people who are at the top, with people who you're like literally following their footsteps, right? Imagine being able to have that. Like that, what type of mentorship, what type of influence, what type of impact would that make for you? Right? Would that create for you? And so it's just it's that there's so many ways to do that. Like that's part of high status networking. That's part of proximity. That's part of masterminds, like joining masterminds or hosting your own. That is part of getting around people who are just playing at a different game, right? Playing at a different level, right? So yeah,
That makes sense because before, like I would just research something. Like if I'm trying to find an answer or I'm trying to learn something, most of us we just go to Google, right? Like we go to Google and we hit search, and then whatever things pop up in the beginning, we're just kind of looking from the top down, right? Because your brains are wired to do what's easiest, and what's easiest is not going to page 10 or page 5 and flipping around. It's what's on the first page, top to bottom, or reading the summaries, skimming through the first page, then like picking and seeing what is like what you're learning about a new topic you never learned about before, or you're trying to get better at it. And so what you taught me was like, well, why wouldn't you just shoot to the top? Because that's what you learned. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense, right?
hmm
And so researching, like putting in the research to be able to identify who is at the top of what you're trying to do or who you're trying to become is ultimately like the most important, right? Because it's like if someone has done it day in and day out and they know the ins and outs of whatever it is, like you want to go to them for the answers because they have more data, right? They have more data, they have more experience, they've put in more sweat equity in order to get the skill set that they have. So I guess that kind of ties into identifying your strengths as well,
it does.
because regardless if you know your strength or not, the people around you will let you know what your strength is, right? They'll tell you because they see it. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's hard for us to see that within ourselves because your strength is so easy. Like it's something very, very simple, right? And you think it's very easy, but for other people, they're like, that's not that easy. And so they feel like you have a strength in that. Um,
Yeah.
so identify your strength and work on that, right? Like,
So the question is, how do you identify your strength, right? And like, or did I cut you off?
no,
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
no, I was
So,
done.
um, so Andrea says proximity is power. Yes. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add like to what you were saying though. It's if you're able to cut your learning curve by getting around those people at the top, right? Then what happens next is magical because again, like you're when you get around someone who has the experience, like not just the knowledge, but the wisdom, because wisdom is attained through experience as well, right? So when you have the experience and you're surrounded by that, like imagine downloading all that experience, right? It could be 20, 30, 50 years of experience, right? That you're downloading just by rubbing shoulders with the right people, right? That's why what Andrea said is true. Proximity is power because what is power? Right? There's many forms of it, but in this context, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, it's cutting your learning curve, it's shaving off years of potential mistakes that you can make if you're doing it on your own, right? And guess what? Like there's a quote, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And here's the beauty of social media. Here's the beauty of Zoom. Here's the beauty of a community is that you're not going by yourself. You're going together. It's better to go together than to go by yourself. Joanna says, my first time meeting Ange. Okay, yes. She's paved the way 100%. Yeah, see that? And so Angela is a prime example of someone at the top and someone who's actually who has the knowledge, who has the wisdom, who has the experience. Imagine being able to surround yourself with and connect with Angela on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
right? That right there, how much knowledge, wisdom, experience does Angela have for you, right? If you can just connect with her, rub shoulders with her, be a student and also a peer,
Yeah.
right? And also just everything, like whatever position that is for you, right? Whatever position it is for you, because I can't say what position it is for you, but I'll summarize in simple terms from what I learned from my mentor, right? There's three positions that everyone is always in, right? He calls it the law of 33%, where you always want to surround yourself with people who are students, right? People who are just getting started on their journey because their eyes are fresh. It's kind of like a new child, a baby, right? They're seeing the world for the first time. They're experiencing it all for the first time. So they have no like filter. It's all just like, oh, I see like this is how it is,
Yeah.
right? That's a student. Then the second part of the 33% he talks about is those who are like your peers, the ones who are like you see eye to eye together, you guys see on the same level. And that the beauty of that, there's many, again, just make it up for yourself. Like, what do you think that is for yourself, right? Guys, I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you what it is. Like, everyone has their own perspective.
Well, it's just like the circle of friends too, right? Like
Mm,
you guys have heard that quote probably time and time again, but like the five people that you surround yourself the most is the five people that you're going to be like. So who do you want to be like? Who do you want to surround yourself with? Who do you want to be in proximity with, right?
yeah.
Like, is this someone whose life you would want or someone, not necessarily their life you would want, but there's aspects of their life that you want, right? So what did they do? And ask questions.
Mhm.
And like what Joanna said, she goes, once she started listening, right? She goes, the next month I hit 12K auto bonus just by being coachable. And the coachability part is like the biggest part because the thing is, you can, ask all the questions, read all the books, listen to all the audios, do all the research. But if you never actually put it into action,
Mhm.
you're not going to get anywhere. Like you're just going to be absorbing and downloading knowledge for nothing, right? And that's what we call knowledge on ice or like analysis paralysis. You're just analyzing to the point you paralyze yourself because you're having such a hard time making one move because you just keep downloading information and never putting it into action, right? And so being coachable and
Mhm.
listening to what people have to say and then just being like, hey, you know what? Like they're the ones that are the experts at it. If they tell me to do this and that's what they did, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it into action. I'm going to see what happens. And then I'm going to communicate back the feedback that I get once I put it into action. Because if there's an adjustment that needs to be made, maybe there was a miscommunication or you misunderstood an action that you took, you go back to the person, you're like, okay, you told me to do this and I did this. And this is what happened. Here was the results. They can tell you, okay, try this next time, try that next time, or oh, you misunderstood. We had a miscommunication. This is what I meant, right? So communication is also key because people aren't mind readers, right? Like they can tell you, okay, well, this is what I did. That's what I did. You can take action. But if you don't go back to get the feedback from them, you're not going to know whether you actually understood them correctly or not, right? So
Mhm.
always keeping an open mind. Like he's not the best at everything. I'm not the best at everything, but there are strengths that we both have that we feel like are pretty decent, right?
Mhm.
But getting feedback, from the person that taught you one thing, but also understanding that there will always be better, right? So like you might be at the top of the game now, but who further is at the top of their game, right? Because this industry is also nothing new.
Mhm.
So, like, hey, don't listen to just us and those around you that are doing the best. There's other people out there that have made 8 to 9 figures, right? Like, what did they do? What did you know what I mean? They've probably have books, podcasts, audios, all that stuff too, right? What are they saying? What did they learn, right? Like, never stop improving yourself and never stop at what you see in your sights, right? There's always another level.
Yeah, but yet again, like it goes back to what I said earlier, though. You have to be very discerning about who you're learning from,
Yeah.
right? Because the thing is, like, here's what's true. Like all of us have the potential to write a book, or if you've already published a book, like obviously then you know. But here's one thing that is completely different in today's world is the fact that like knowledge retrieval because of the internet is so abundant and available that the world is changing so much and so fast. How if you haven't if your book that you wrote or that you write today and you publish it is not relevant 10 years from now, right? Then it becomes irrelevant,
Yeah.
literally. And so that's knowledge that's outdated. So no one can use it anymore, right? So the timeless books that like for example, Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself, like that book, that's vetted. That book is timeless. That book is about the best project you'll ever work on is you, right? It's about improving yourself. And so that book right there, when it comes to the principles and philosophies, that is an evergreen book, right? That's evergreen knowledge that people can use for the next 100 years, in my opinion, right? Because when are you going to stop improving yourself, right? So yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I usually depend on him because he's really good at researching. Like if I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do or this is what I want to do, he'll research things for me and then he'll research it and he'll be like, here, like read this, listen to this, watch this,
Yeah,
and I'll go through it and digest the information and then boom, I take action on it, right? Like that's just kind of how we our roles play because I've never been in that role to like research the best of the best. Like he came from a background where that's all they did. You guys just brought in experts and then you guys paid them and they would come in and they would teach you guys and they were like the top in the world. And
yeah,
so you know how to research the best. And so for me, I know like that's not my strength, that's his strength. So I lean on him for that because I'm not going to try to spend how many years or how many months trying to get that strength in, right? Like I need to
yeah.
keep moving. And so I think that identifying your strengths is important because when you learn how to identify your strength, you also learn to identify other people's strengths as well, and you can
Yeah.
lean on them for support.
Yeah, because like again, leadership, right? Fire hour is leadership development. So that's a huge aspect. It's a huge pillar of Fire Hour. And everyone here is a leader, right? But because you are a leader, there are certain leadership skills that you must develop. It's a must, right? It's a must develop, okay? And identifying strengths in yourself is a great place to start. But then the second thing is when someone gets started with you, you must know how to identify them, right? At least one of their strengths. And it's so simple. It's about asking them the question. Like it's about you asking the questions, what is my strengths and what is my weaknesses to all the people that are in proximity with you, the ones who actually know you. And it's about having that conversation of you know what? Like, I'm not going to have any ego. I'm going to lower my guards. I'm going to hear and receive your information fully. So that way I can have a clear understanding of who I am. Right. And then that way you have different perspectives giving you the insight, giving you the data that you may not know yourself. I heard a quote that I'm not going to say it verbatim, but they say that the thing that you know the least is yourself. Right. And if you think about it, if you haven't been doing like the inner work, if you haven't been, getting feedback analysis from others, if you haven't been working on yourself intentionally, maybe this is the first time you're doing it, right? How well do you really know yourself? And that's something that is sometimes it's scary, right? When you look within, but that's where the light is. That's where like you really can see honestly like who you are. And then that's when you can be your authentic self because you have an even stronger connection with yourself, right? So, did you want to read some of the comments? Okay.
Yeah. So Joanna said I had to get out of my comfort zone. Her first challenge was to show my face in my Instagram story. As soon as I got home, I did an unboxing and it took forever because I kept messing up. Get comfortable getting uncomfortable, what I learned at Palooza. Yes, and you know what, there's always, like if you want something different, like you have to become someone different, and in order to become someone different, like you have to be okay doing things that you never did before, right? And knowing that you might not be the best at it in the beginning, but it takes practice, right?
Well, not to just add to that, like it's like become the best version of you, right? It's not being it like you'll have to change yourself because it's going to require that, right? Depending on what your goals are, your aspirations, your dreams, your desires are, but it will demand a different version of you, right? That's what Crystal is saying. Like you got to become different. It's a different version of yourself. that future version of yourself, that best version of yourself, whatever that version of yourself is that you envision that will achieve the goals, right? The be, do, have framework, right? Who do you need to be in order to have what you want? And because you identify who you need to be, you automatically do what they do, right? You automatically do what that person is. That's why Andrea said, do the do, right?
Yeah.
It's about first identifying who you need to be, right? And then you're going to have it easily. Right.
And then how we just talked about like talking to the experts, talking to people who have done better than you, because there's always different levels, right? Ange says she's in a chat with just Maria and three others. Since Cabo, she sends us voice notes of what she says. She does lots of reach outs. She is so active till this day, and that is so inspiring. So for those of you that don't know, Maria Dillard, she is like our upline. I think she's like right under Jason, right? Like she's very high up there. She started 12 years ago. My first Thrive Palooza back in 2019, she walked the stage for her 8-figure award. 8 figures, you guys, that's $10 million in commissions made in this business, right? And that was 12 years ago. Like in 12 years, doing what you're doing now, can you make 10 million, right? Like, can you make 8 figures, right? Like, what kind of skill set do you have to have? Like, I know CEOs of companies that like manage hundreds of millions of dollars, but like I don't know what they make, but I know what their salary is on like an annual basis, right? And so there's a lot of opportunities, and the sky is the limit if you are involved in certain businesses, right? And sales and commissions is one of like the highest paying ones, right? Because it's up to you and your development and your willingness to be able to reach that height, right? But everyone can. Like Ange doesn't have a degree. You don't need a degree. She didn't have experience, you know what I mean? But she was coachable. She listened, and now she's in a chat with like one of our uplines, which is an 8-figure earner.
That's
Like
huge.
now you're learning from like one of the best. Like what did she do? What was her daily method of operation, right? So always learning from other people out there that have been there and that have done that, right?
Yeah, and then just to summarize or to add to that too, right? Like in simple terms, there's no cap. Okay, there's no cap to your income here. There's no cap, literally, and that's the beauty of it. And if you're playing long term, which I encourage everyone to do,
Yeah.
like play the game long term, right? Playing the game long term is everything in everything that you do. Continue to read. I don't know where you left off. Oh, this one right here. Anna says mental health and self-improvement. Nice.
Talking
That's
to
very true.
people. Ange says talking to people, it's verbiage. Anna says learning lessons the first time and breaking patterns. Yes.
Susan says, I think of a SWOT analysis on self when you say that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that is a very valuable framework to use, especially when identifying yourself. Because, and everyone can do that, literally. Like list out, this is for yourself. Like, let's thank you for that. So this is what we can do, right? As one activity if you want to do it, right? SWOT. Do a SWOT analysis on yourself, right? Just list out 3 strengths, right? Just to keep it very simple. Strengths, list out 3. Weaknesses, list out 3. Opportunities, and the opportunities, it could be in several different contexts, but let's make it a focus, right? Let's just talk about whatever you're focused on right now, like in this, let's say in your business, okay? What opportunities are you identifying? What opportunities can you see? Like what pathways can you see towards your success, right? Because when it comes to like goals, for example, like goals are just steps. It's just stepping stones. So what steps do you need to identify in order for you to reach those goals faster, right? Those are the opportunities. And then threats. Like threats are kind of like blocks, constraints, bottlenecks, things that you're wrestling with that you need some guidance on, right? That could be one way. Like there's other ways that you can do SWOT analysis, but again, use AI, right? Use the things that are out there, use the tools that are out there already for you to do that. But that's powerful. Like that's a great way to do self-identification and to understand and analyze yourself. And then not only that, right? What's the next after that? After you do your SWOT analysis for yourself or for your business, then bring that feedback to someone else. Bring that feedback to your accountability partners, to a mastermind, to your group, whoever that is, right? Someone that you trust. And
Yeah.
from there, do the do the activity, right? If they're willing.
Yeah.
That was great though. That was really great. Anna says yes to all of this.
Yeah, I think what you said is really good. It's like because you can write whatever you write, but then if you have someone that knows you or actually look through it and they could be like, oh, you're missing this strength,
Hmm.
or oh, like you have these as weaknesses, but I kind of see one that might be more prevalent than the other ones that you put, right?
Yeah.
So when you're hearing those things, it's not easy to hear something that you're not good at, right? Or as a weakness of yours. But it's also okay, right? Because then when you know that, then you can use that for yourself, right? Like you can think of it as ammunition for yourself to improve in that place to get better or just to be more cautious when it comes to that weakness, right?
Yeah, it's like the way that I like, let's say for example, like when you're receiving feedback from someone, like whether it is in your eyes, it's good or bad, right? That's the lens of duality. Like instead of looking at it through the lens of duality, like whether it's good or bad, look at it as, oh, this is information and insight and data and knowledge transfer to me. This is the information that I was missing and now I have it. So what can I do with this, right? Because that way you're able to like receive the information without any ego, without any guards up. And then from there, because remember what I said before? I don't know if I said this recently, but this is part of like influence and persuasion. And this is part of communication and conversation. This is part of discussions, especially when it comes to team development and just leadership development in general. But if you are in a role where you are sharing something with someone, right, it's in your best interest for their guard, right, their knowledge, their beliefs, they're just their mental guard to be down, basically, okay? And the reason for that is because if their guard is up, like no knowledge, everything you're discussing, communicating, sharing with them, it's blocking, it's being blocked, right? It's being blocked, literally. And so what you have to do first is to lower the guard, right? And not in a manipulative way at all. It's just like, hey, this is a safe place, so lower your guard, and that way I can communicate to you openly and honestly. And then from there, you can receive that data, that information, that insight, that knowledge transfer, right? So that's always the first step is to lower the guard. And then from there, have an open, on the level, open communication. And then from there, be able to receive that, right? So if you're doing this exercises activity to improve yourself, right? Do the SWOT analysis on yourself. Do it with someone else, right? Have that feedback analysis from Peter Drucker, right? Do that activity. He talks about what you should ask, right? Then from there, have that information and like wrestle with it for yourself, right? It's going to unlock certain things. What happened?
Nothing.
Oh, it's going to unlock certain things for you. And I'm telling you right now, like it is not easy, but if you do it continuously, it gets easier, right?
You have Telegram on your laptop?
Yeah. Susan says you can also do this on yourself every 6 months. I also have to stay focused on coaching. Yeah, 100%. Right. All of us have to focus on like our strengths, our weaknesses, improving ourselves if we want to, right? So that's powerful.
Oh, I love that.
You
And
re-
then Kimberly says you have to learn to take constructive criticism well. Yes. And that is a part of ever evolving and like personally developing, right? Like it's not easy all the time, but if you just look at it in a way of this is easy, this is simple, like I'm glad I get to do this. I'm glad people are honest with me and they can tell me how it is so I can improve myself.
Yeah,
It's actually a great thing, right?
it is.
Susan said that her and Burge had a conversation yesterday and they were able to do it on one another verbally. And I
Nice.
congratulate you guys because it takes a lot of courage to be honest and open with communication with people, right? Like we are in a people business. And so we have to communicate with each other and we have to be able to kind of see eye to eye and understand and listen and like take any criticism and just be like, okay, like, okay, if this person says this, like, let me just like I'll work on that, right? Um, and so going back to managing oneself, how do I perform, right?
Hmm.
So understanding how you perform is crucial. This includes knowing whether you're a reader, a listener, and how you learn, right? So whether you work well with people or by yourself, and whether you're a decision maker or an advisor, right? If you don't know how you work best, then how can you perform at your best on your strength? So, for example, I'll go first. At a certain time at night, like I cut off, like I'm just done. I am done, right? And I feel like I don't know, like I've never like I just knew my schedule and I just go off of like what I do, right? And it took Sean a while to learn that because he used to try to talk to me and have like deep conversations around the time when my brain was like, no more. And I'd be like, no, like I'm not hearing you right now. Like we're not talking. Like if you want to talk, like come at me tomorrow when like after I wake up and I get ready and I've taken my Thrive and I'm like good to go with high energy, right? And so that took him a while to understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I was like just so fired up. I always wanted to just talk to her.
Yes, and he would try to keep me up. Like I'd be like, I'm going to bed. Like I'm gonna go wind down now. I'm gonna do a self-reflection and meditate or just wind down now. And he would try to talk to me and keep me up until 2 in the morning when I was trying to tap out at like 9 or 10 o'clock. And it was just not good.
Yeah, and that was at the time when I was not meditating. I wasn't actively I didn't go within yet. Like I didn't that my mind was like this is the part of and beneficial aspects of meditation as well, right? Is like I was able to quiet my mind. I was able to quiet like the because my mind operates like as a consultant, like part of my job as a consultant
Yeah.
is to be up to speed on, my field of expertise, right? And so I'm always researching. If I'm behind in research and then like a potential client talks to me or connects with me and then it just so happens to be that topic and I'm out and it's supposed to be my field, but I don't know about it. Like, how does that look as a consultant? The thing that most people don't understand if you're not a consultant is consultants do a lot of research. That's part of their job. They have to be able to bring the insights, the information, the foresight, the forecasting, the data, the frameworks, like structure it out into simple terms for someone to understand. So if I don't have time to do research and I'm behind, then how much value can I really provide to those people,
Yeah.
right? And that's the part that most people don't understand about consultants. It's their job to do research. It's their job to take time and spend energy reading and learning and downloading knowledge and information. That's why I have a lot of information. There's obviously so much more that I can learn, but I'm constrained. There's so much constraint that happens. That's why I like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they in Bill Gates, all the billionaires, like there was a question that was asked to them. They said like if you could have one superpower, what would it be? And their answer was the same. They said that they would want to have the powers of being able to read faster, basically, because they want to download more knowledge faster,
Yeah.
right? So that it's the same thing right there, right? I use the knowledge and information that I have to look at business opportunities and to see, all right, which is the right path and the best path, right? The most efficient path towards this goal. And then from there, I just condense all that information to that one single action, right? So that's yeah, but that's and then I start to meditate. Okay. Then from there, I start to like realize that, oh, okay, like I can do it with less energy. I can do it more refined. I can do it with more intentionality. I'm able to just understand and be more even self-aware of who I am and who she is and the
Yeah.
boundaries and all these things. So there's so many benefits to meditation, but
It was
yeah.
like silencing the monkey brain because
Mm.
I when we first got together and you first came in, like it was never quiet in the house. Like he would always
Oh
have
yeah.
music blasting. There was always like blah 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 blah. And I'm a very like I kind of keep to myself and I recharge on my own in silence, right? And so I was like, man, this guy never stops. It's so noisy. And I'd be like, do you have to listen to music 24/7? Like we're working. Like, how can you listen to music and work at the same time, right? Like
That was who I
don't you
was
get
before.
distracted?
Yeah.
Yes. And then so I was just like, so I had to, it was difficult, but I had to almost just be like, no music, no noise, no talking right now. Like stop.
And
And
I,
for
and
him,
I
he was not comfortable in silence, but he learned how to be comfortable within his own silence
yeah.
and like the stillness of being silent, right? And that's something people actually aren't very comfortable with.
Yeah. It's because like if you think about it too, for me, like before we started dating, like my life was completely different. My
Hmm.
life was complete opposite of what it is today. Like we're building a love tower. We're building a monument of love. I was like the complete opposite of that prior to meeting her. It was like it's night and day.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
just partying like in Newport Beach with like sugar babies.
It was a lot. It's completely different lifestyle, okay?
And I was like, what are you doing? Like,
Living my best life. But I'm living
yeah.
my best life now.
But they were
So
sweet. They were very sweet. I met them all. They're very sweet, kind girls. Yeah. But I was like, this isn't my life. Like, I'm about business. I'm about making my money. You know what I mean? Like, I got kids to feed. I got a future. Like,
I didn't have kids.
yeah, he became Insta daddy. You pour water. Pour water and you get an Insta daddy.
Hey,
Like a cup of noodles.
Angela says, sugar baby, I feel attacked. Yeah, my life was so different. And so what she was talking about, how like how noisy, how like crazy I was, like Fire Hour season one. That
Oh my God.
Fire Hour season one was how I was for like 2 years
But you
straight.
know what though? You brought the fire. Like if you guys have been with us since 2020, since Fire Hour season one, you saw like how much energy he had. So it wasn't necessarily like a bad thing, right? Like he brought the fire, he brought the energy. People would be like, scream at me more, yell at me more, right? We'd be doing this like 7 days a week. And then like, after we're like, man, that was a crazy ass like 90-day run, right? Like we need a little like break. People are like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, and you know what? Like when I look back at all that, I asked myself this question. I'm like, where did all that energy go? Like, how did I have so much energy to do that every like 7 days a week for like how like 90 days straight? Like that's freaking crazy, you know? Like when I think about it.
It's called responsibilities.
But yeah, then I realized, yeah, okay, it makes sense because like now there's children. Like I came from a place where I didn't have any children. Like I was just
Partying,
partying.
networking.
Yeah, I was when I'm partying, I'm networking, you
Yeah.
know. I was like networking every single day. Like that was like high status networking. That's how I developed it. It's because I was networking every single day in the trenches, you know. It's just that I had partying attached to that.
Joanna knows. Pour water. Yes. Just like Ryan, Insta Daddy. Yes. And Linda, yeah, Linda, you were there, 2 hours straight fire. Yeah,
Oh
it was
man.
intense. It was fun though. We had a lot of fun doing that. I still feel like you should post all of those, like go through it and post it because like that's where the goat was born. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah.
freaking 120 hours. So I think you should still post that. It's so valuable.
Yeah, there's actually yeah, like that run. I'm pretty sure I have 95% um of the recordings, but I just need to go through them. But basically like that run right there is like that's the $11 million run right there. So the Fire Hour, all the recordings, it's like that's what it like what we trained on.
We track the data too.
Yeah, we tracked the data, we trained on it. Like so all those recordings, like we can document like we can say with like with clarity and with truth. And not only that, but also documentation that that run was the $11 million run. That run added like that went from 6 figures to 8 figures. That took this business from 6 figures to 8 figures, right? So your business 7 figures to 8 figures, right?
Yeah.
In that run. Guess what? Like it's all documented. So I do have it. So I just gotta release it.
So, performance, decision maker, advisor, reader, listener, how do you learn, right? How do you learn and how do you best like to learn? Like, what is easier for you? Because the brain likes to go to whatever is easier. Like, you might not know it, but our brains are wired to simplify, right? So, the better you get to know yourself and how you learn, the better you're able to actually speed your own progress up, right? Your performance.
Mhm.
And so do you like working in the early mornings when you first get up after you thrived, or do you have your creativity that turns on at night and you like being that night owl,
Yeah.
right? What is it for you that works well?
And this goes really well with what Anna said, right? Be in tune with yourself, right? That is huge. It's huge because It's the same, yeah, and distractions, don't like distractions. For me, like, because I want to add to like what we're saying.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, before Crystal and before going within and before meditating and before like, getting into myself, right? My true self, my authentic self, the real version of me, right? Before, like what Susan says, before my transformation internally,
Yeah.
right, and externally making impacts, like I needed all this, like I felt like or the ego or whatever it was, the me before, that version of me before, needed all this external stuff. But it's because like I wasn't comfortable with going within. I wasn't comfortable with sitting in silence for myself. I wasn't comfortable with being in a room with other people and nothing's happening. Like
Yeah.
I needed
That.
constant feedback. I needed the input. Like has to be 1,000x. Like I was
Yeah.
like the craziest person, like literally. And then when I start to go within, I start to tune out all the information. I started to tune out the distractions, the noise, right? Then that's when I started to understand, like, oh, like this is what it's like to be like at
Still.
peace. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still like because my energy was like always like
Yes.
that.
He used to ask me, what's the plan? He would literally ask, what's the plan? And he would ask me like 5 times in like 15 minutes. And I would be like, I'm going to choke you if you ask me one more time what the plan is.
Yeah, because I was always like, I gotta make moves, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I'm like, and then this is during the pandemic when there's nothing to do.
No, but I remember like what we were in Puerto Rico, right? When we were like looking for land and
Oh yeah,
stuff to build the tower. And
yeah,
he was just like, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? And I was like, we're just being still right now.
yeah, and I'm like, that's not a plan. No, but like for me now, if I'm working, I cannot have distractions. Like it's just I don't like to work when there's distractions everywhere. I like to be laser-like focused and be as efficient and intentional as possible, so that way I can just get things done faster, you know? So, and then yeah, I don't listen to like crazy music anymore. I don't listen to, all that stuff. Like I'm very focused.
Yes, twin. Always need to know what we're doing, where we're going.
Yeah, what's the plan, twin?
Oh yeah, do you remember that? You were there during the early days.
Oh my gosh. Horrible.
And it says,
We just
yeah,
we
yeah,
just ran into your friend Priscilla yesterday.
yeah.
So Priscilla met me, it's one of our friends that we just ran into, and she like we're just talking about how like our first interaction with her, like she sees me like just destroyed. It's just funny. Anyways, sorry, I didn't have a point with that, I guess.
I know, I was waiting for it.
I was gonna make a point, but then it's part of the same transformation. It's like before I was like crazy, and now like I know who I am. So that's the whole point. Like the point is that if I can change, you can change. All right.
And if you guys know me, I'm not very patient. So, the transformation had to happen pretty quickly because no.
Yeah, go with the flow now. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
What are your values, right? So just to go back to the book, based on performance as well, strengths and performance. What are your values? Like, what do you value? Because what your values are must be compatible with your work for you to remain true to yourself. I can't stress this enough. I really can't stress this enough. Most people, and I'm not trying to attack anyone, but we do things that we're not passionate about, right?
Mm.
Like you might have a 9 to 5 and you're like, I hate my job and I dread going in, like I need to get out. I was there too. There was parts of jobs that I liked and that I didn't like, but ultimately, my last like job, right, was also a business that I owned.
Mm.
But I was working in it. So I just remembered that I would wake up, it'd be a bright day, bright, beautiful, sunny day. The air is fresh, I'm young, and I'm just going into an office, sitting behind a desk, behind a computer. And I would see the sun, and then I would go in and then, work my day off. And then when I came out, the sun was gone. Like it was gone. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm wasting my life away. Like I am so young. I am in my early 20s and I have so much ahead of me. And I go in when the sun's still out. And when I come out, the sun is gone. And like, I just feel like I was wasting my life away in a way. Right. But I don't regret that almost 10 years of being in the mortgage industry because I learned so much about business and what I was truly capable of. Right.
Mm.
Um, but a lot of people, like what they do on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't align with who you are and your value, right? And sometimes when you're doing that and you're not staying true to yourself, it makes it harder for you to perform, right? Like it doesn't feel good doing what you do every day. So, it's not always an easy decision to switch from doing something that you don't like to doing something that you do like, but I want to just let you guys know that it is possible, right? Like you don't have to stay in the same place that you don't like. You don't have to keep doing what you don't want to do forever, right? But it takes you to come to the understanding of making decisions and also thinking things through and being financially responsible to make that jump, right? But it is possible. I was able to go from being in an office all day to just like I'm not doing this anymore and like getting myself out and going like the self-employed route, right? Um, and so,
Huge.
what are you valuing? Like, what are you doing every day? Right. And if what you do you don't like right now, it's okay. Just work on yourself and work on something else that can shift you away from that. Right. And ask yourself the questions and have a plan in place and start chipping away at it.
Yeah, for me, like, because I can relate 100%. But I like the things that I did, like, I don't encourage other people to do because when I was in my jobs, right? These are jobs that I just did not like whatsoever. Like, I would just quit without any plan. I'm just like, all right, I'm moving on. What's next? And I had to live in my car at several times because of these decisions that I made, right? So I've been through that struggle and not having money and being broke. And it was just part of my journey. But the point is that like for me, I wasn't aligned with like where I was at. And because of that, I took action. I decided and I took action and it made change. And whether the on the other side of that change was struggle, like living in my car, being broke, having to shower at the gym, like all this stuff, right? Sleeping on friends' couches, right? All these things.
Yeah.
Like when I had to do that, like that was just part of the struggle that I said I'm gonna go through. You know what I mean? Like I refuse to be in a position where I don't like to be. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
change it. And I don't care what the struggle comes after.
Yeah.
But there is better ways to do it, obviously. There's definitely way better ways to do it. I don't encourage anyone to do that.
He doesn't encourage you guys to quit your jobs and sleep in your cars and shower at the gyms or brush your teeth at the parks.
Yeah, none of that stuff. But that was just part of my plan. That was just part of my path, not my plan, but my path. And so I actually did that 2 times. I did that on two different occasions, right? And one of those occasions was where I was making like literally almost a six-figure salary, like without having to do much work. Like I would literally clock in, I'd literally collect my paycheck without really doing any work anymore because I just got to a point where I didn't have to do that because I set up the systems properly. So I got really like lost. I got to phase 3 to 4 and like I already set up everything in phase 1. So it's just running on autopilot. It's making millions of dollars for the company. But for me, I just was unhappy.
Yeah.
And so I just quit without any backup plan. I left a six-figure salary basically without any backup plan because I just wasn't happy, right? But that's for me. Like I'm very extreme.
Yeah.
And so like again,
And
the
that
whole
was
point,
and that was your journey. But
yeah,
I
that's my
mean, if
journey.
you look at it, I mean, like it's just funny how things unfold because you were once homeless living out of your car on 17th Street in Newport Beach, or was it Costa
Yeah,
Mesa?
Newport Beach. Yeah.
And now you're a business owner with a business on 17th Street,
Yeah.
right? So
Isn't that
it's like
crazy?
you can go from homeless to business owner. You can make these huge leaps and these huge changes within your life, right? Like
Yeah.
I grew up in bankruptcy, foreclosure. Our home was taken away from us and we were living on like free free lunches at school and free health insurance, right? And now I'm a multimillionaire and I'm pretty much retired, but I don't like to not do anything. So it's like you guys can go from this to that. Like his situation is very extreme, my situation is very extreme. And so when we teach you guys things or when we talk to you guys about things, we've been through these things, we've been through these struggles, right? And we've gotten ourselves out of it. So what is it? It's up to us to be able to be like, hey, there is a way. Here's the roadmap. Here's the blueprint. Here's how we did it.
Yeah.
And to support you guys, like we didn't come from like what we have now, like we built, right? And so that's what I want to encourage for you guys too. Like you can be from a place from homeless on the street to business owner on the same street. And it can happen very quickly, but it's up to you and the action you take. How open are you, right? Like how coachable are you to be able to do this for yourself? Because it is possible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Alex says become homeless. Noted.
Don't do that, Alex.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do that. He's gonna the next Instagram reel we're gonna see from Alex is like, it's me, Alex, and I'm on the street right now.
Don't do it. Oh man. Yeah, but yeah, Alex, just reading Alex's
Yes.
comment as well, right? I feel that deep. It's like I went to school for so long for comp sci, and
Computer science, I'm guessing.
yeah, computer science, and is that what?
What's SW?
I don't know, but something developer, right?
Software developer?
Possible. Software, yep,
Yes.
software. Good job.
Just for the money. Yeah.
Mm,
But I absolutely hate staring at the screen all day, typing my life away, but it pays so well. Really need my business to take off this
boom.
year or next because I'm at that point. Yes. And we are here for you, Alex. I was there. I dreaded going into work, right? And I owned a part of that company too, but I was like, this is not fun. Like, it's not cool. I need to get out of here.
Yeah. Joanna says that's why I work night shift now. I go into work when it's night and I'm off when the sun is out. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So yeah, you know what? Like this right here, like everyone, right? Everyone has like this can be applied to your life wherever it is, right? Because all of our lives are, they're different, but we're all on the same path. And that's the beauty of it. We're all together, right? We're going together. And so when it comes to like finding those pockets of time, and being able to like actually be the cause that changes that effect, right? For you, whatever that effect is for you, right? Whatever that changes for you that you want, right? That you desire. Like it's possible because of you. It's possible because of the actions that you take. It's possible because of the decisions that you make. It's possible because that's what you truly want, right? That's truly what you desire. So don't settle, okay? Don't settle. Never settle. Like continue to improve, continue to adapt, continue to change the things that you want to change. And again, think long term, right? This business is a long-term business. It's in my opinion, as a business strategist, like looking from outside in, this is long term. And so play the game long term, right? Play the game long term. It's really important to do that, right? Don't like sabotage yourself. Don't sabotage your success. Like play full out, but play long term and it'll happen. Alex, it's gonna happen. It's just consistency over time. You'll succeed no matter what, right? I believe that.
Yeah.
Jackie says, and then she saw some Thrive posts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, so that was after, right? So in 2015, the beginning of 2015, I was like, I'm not doing this office thing anymore. Like I'm out, right? And at that time, I was like, I'm just going to switch into gears into real estate, right? Because I know all the financing part of residential mortgage. So real estate was pretty much like, it was very simple for me. And so I just, I jumped out of mortgage and I jumped into real estate. And at that time, I started my self-employment journey, right? So from 2015 until 2018, I was just self-employed and I collected 4 businesses, right? I started a few and one of them I bought more into, right? More equity into to be able to increase my cash flow. And then so around end of 2018, that's when I found out about Thrive, right? That's when I saw Jackie's post and I'm like, you know what? I have 4 businesses. I have 2 kids. I just bought my second house and remodeled. Like, I'm tired. I need more energy, right? And who wouldn't need more energy? I needed more energy. And I never saw the business opportunity. I was just looking for energy. So understanding what people are coming in for. Sometimes people are just coming in to look good, to feel good, to lose weight. They're not coming in for a business. They have no idea there's a huge business opportunity on the other side of looking better, feeling better, right? So understand where people are at when they're coming in, right? And lead them through the belief process. And so in 2018, I hit promote and things just took off, right? And it took off very fast because I was practically first in my network, right? And so from there, I started doing Thrive. And at the time, I was still doing loans, right? I'm still a broker till this day. And I was doing loans at that point, but I didn't have to work in an office anymore because I was like, I'm not processing and like underwriting and training and like working on the business operations anymore. Like, I'm just going to be a loan officer. I'm just going to do sales here and there. But Thrive actually helped me to pull away from that business too, because I was like, I don't want to do loans anymore. Like I just don't. Like I love it. I learned so much from it, but I didn't have a passion. It didn't align with my values anymore because it wasn't what I wanted to do, right? Like I love helping people, and Thrive, I can help people the way that aligns with me the most, that I value the most, is watching someone go from a non-believer in themselves to full out belief and then turning around and spreading that message, right? And so Thrive was the way that I was able to let go of another six-figure income source, right? And it was not an easy decision to make. I mean, it wasn't, but it was. I think Shun was panicking more. He's like, "No, you can keep the income stream. Like, we'll just do this." And I was like, "No, man, I'm done. I'm
Oh
done.
yeah.
I'm done. Like, I'm out, right?" And like that was 6 figures. That was like bread and butter to me. It's like the back of my hand. I know how to do those things, right?
It's like this, like okay, each call that comes in is $3,000. And then she'd
Three
be
to
like
five
three to five
plus.
thousand dollars, okay? Yeah, over $5,000, right? Let's just say. And so each call though, right? So I see her phone ringing. It's like there's like 5, 10 calls a day, right? She's just like, no, 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 no. Like
Don't get to that point though, guys.
for me, I'm like, damn, like, but it's you can scale that though, like you can offset, you can hire people, there's 5 pillars of massive scale, okay? Like there's things that you can do to replace yourself and to scale, right? To expand. And so that's what I would have done in that position.
Yeah,
If I had my own piece,
I got to
then
the
yeah,
point. I got to that point, right? Just like you left a six-figure income because you got to that point. So what we're
yeah,
saying is like you guys don't have to get to that point, but when it does come, be responsible, be financially responsible and evaluate yourself and what your situation is like before you make that jump, especially if you have
yeah.
dependents, right? Or people that would be possibly liable for the actions that you take.
Yeah, and also just to like note, like for me, it's not about the money, like back then, because I was making good money. But like, what was more valuable than the money at that position that I was in was the people, the connections. Because in that position that I was in, we're connected with the entire world. So I'm connected with celebrities, with influencers, and these are not just low level people. These are people at the top levels. I'm connected with these people. And so, and then everyone, because at the time, like my former boss, my former mentor, he was at the top of his game, like the top of his game. And I decided to leave at the top when he's at the top of his game, right? So, for me, like I just had no, I just was not thinking at all at the time because I was just such in a place where I was in phase four, I was gone. I was leaving the field. I was out, right? But, when it came to that decision, like I knew that I'm making the decision for myself. Like it was not for anybody else but myself. I needed it for myself. And so that was what I left on the table. But the thing is that, we live in a world where it's abundance, right? Those connections are out there and like there's no scarcity. So I already know like we're playing long term. Like life is long. Like there is going to be points where I connect with people again. There's going to be points where I connect with and have those relationships again. There's going to be points with all that stuff. And for me, like I don't have scarcity when it comes to that decision that I made, right? Because I did it, that's just that's my path, that's my journey. And now like where am I at? Like it's a completely different level that I'm playing at, like compared to when I was there, right? Because of who I am now, right? So the whole point of that is, when you make a decision to make a drastic change, right? Be very intentional with it, but make the decision because it aligns with you. It's from where you're coming from, right? You're doing it with purpose. And so, yeah,
I do want to
Yeah.
close this out.
Yeah.
Managing oneself, it's already 7. Just a couple more minutes, you guys. Where do you belong? Where do you belong, right? So what are your strengths? How do you perform? What are your values? And where do you belong? Where do you feel best at? Right? Like, where is it that you're like, I want to be here. I want to be a part of this community. I want to be a part of this movement. Like, I want to do this thing. Right? Where is that? Because that's where you're going to feel good. And where you belong is who you're going to become and is how you're going to perform at your best. Right? And what should you contribute? What should you contribute, right? Like we're in a world where there's a lot of people that take, right?
Mm.
But you don't have to be like that. You can give. Where can you give? How can you give? When's the last time you gave to someone knowing they couldn't ever pay you back for what you gave to them, right? When is the last time you did that? What should you contribute, right? So think about what you should contribute to your job, your organization, your community over the next few years and work towards making that contribution, right? That's the beauty of being part of a community is we all have strengths. Some of our strengths are the same, some of our strengths are different, but it doesn't matter. We all come together to contribute what our strengths are, right? You don't think about, well, if I give this, what am I going to get back, right? Because then you're kind of in that taking mindset. And when you're in that taking mindset of what's in it for me, if I give this, even though that person can't pay me back or do anything for me, like that's how you see the world. And that's what you reflect out. And that's what you're going to give back, right? Because this world is energy and what you reflect is what you will attract, knowingly or unknowingly. So when's the last time you gave something of value to someone or a community that could never pay you back, that could never give anything back to you, right? That's part of your karma. You know, if you guys believe in karma, right? What you put out is what you're going to get back, right? Whether it's in this lifetime or the next lifetime, if that's what you guys believe in or not.
Yeah.
So what can you contribute? So that is pretty much tying up the entire book. His book is about understanding and harnessing your own strength, your performance modes, your values to achieve personal and professional success. It's about placing yourself where you can make the greatest contribution and continue to learn and develop through your career. Where is that? What is that? Right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to leave it at that and also
Oh, wait, and then like pick up the book if you haven't, right? Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. Pick it up because it's for entrepreneurs, okay? And everyone here is an entrepreneur. Everyone here is an entrepreneur leader as well. So this is gonna only help you, okay? It's only gonna help you, but do the work, obviously. And then go ahead.
And this Saturday, if you guys are free, if you guys are in the area, if you guys are looking for something to do, Shen and I, we co-founded a nonprofit. It's called the Love Tower out of Shaw. We are building a monument of love, an actual monument that people can go visit, like a landmark, right? And so we are doing our first Love Tower local in Santa Monica, and we'll be hosting and we'll be doing like a music enhanced heart meditation and talking about our nonprofit and what love means to us and what love means to the world. We might have some music there. And yeah, it'll just be something simple.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it simple. Yeah.
Very simple.
We're
So,
gonna enjoy ourselves.
we're gonna post the link inside the
Oh.
chat. That's why I asked if
Oh,
use
gotcha.
Telegram. So we're gonna post the link in the chat. It's free. Kids are more than welcome to come. We truly believe that bringing back love into the world is so important, and it also starts with ourselves, right? It starts with ourselves, and it starts with the children because the children are the future. So it is kid friendly. We've also started rolling out a few programs throughout schools to be able to help teach kids mindfulness, kindness, meditation, and love. So if you guys are available, it's free. Come out and let's hang out.
Yeah, that's perfect. Let's get it. All right. Hopefully this call was super valuable. I think that it was. It was for
Oh,
me
it's good. It
personally.
was good.
Yeah.
I've never been
Really
through the
great.
book before, so thank you.
Yeah.
Now I have, but I'm gonna listen to the audio because I think there's a lot more golden nuggets in there, and I would like to listen to it in full length.
Yeah, it's huge. It's powerful. Okay. We wouldn't spend an entire hour on this book if it wasn't. All right. So imagine how much more like value you can get just by going through it with yourself, right? And your team, right? Whoever that is for you. But okay, if for those of you who are gonna be there on Saturday, we'll see you there. If you can make it, that would be amazing.
Jackie will
Or
be there in spirit from Canada.
invite a friend or a loved one if you'd like. And then on the next episode of Fire Hour, dang,
I
I
mean,
just wanted to put her in that position. If you guys noticed that.
you guys don't know how many times we actually come up with things on the spot.
No, it's just we're going with the flow. All right, have an amazing day. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Crush it, dominate your path. We love you all. Make it happen. You guys got this. All right.
Love
Peace
you
out.
guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Peace out.
Have a great day.